How many war casualties, oil spills, dead fish, and natural disasters will we need to see before we set aside our differences and awaken to our interconnectedness with each other, the Earth, and all life forms? We destroy our home, the Earth, for the sake of the economy. We torture and treat animals as mere commodities for the sake of the economy. We keep on using oil, despite the alternatives, for the sake of the economy. We perpetuate wars and kill each other for the sake of the economy. We promote superficial and materialistic values for the sake of the economy. We indebt the poor for the sake of the economy. We remain asleep for the sake of the economy. The understanding and wisdom that would deprogram our minds and open our eyes to the grand scheme of things has no economic value.
So we produced the collective evolution one. Now we want to take it to the next level. What do you guys think would be the next step?
We need to give people a bigger foundation as to what's playing out and sort of help them understand the bigger picture of everything. The biggest thing to realize is that none of what we experience is realistically set in stone. It can all be moved around.
I think it's key in this one if we can kind of bring more examples to it and through situations that can relate to the material that we're presenting. I think.
Yeah. Well, everyone's looking for truth right now. I feel that providing clarity in what we've experienced within our lives and what we understand, it can assist other people in experiencing their own clarity and finding their own peace.
Okay. I mean, one of the other big things is bringing in the full understanding of the ego.
Okay, so you said the body, you want to talk about the planet,
yeah,
and you also want to get to the ego.
Right.
How are we going to bring this all together?
Obviously about the shift and how we're shifting our consciousness towards how we're observing and the awareness behind everything that we're experiencing.
Okay, so explain who you are and where you get your information from.
Well, I'm a soul that came back to assist humanity. And the reason I'm here is to assist specifically with the shift that we're going in. Now, as for myself, my physicality and so forth is no different than any other human on the planet. However, what makes the difference and where this information is coming from is my soul. Now, my soul is the unified soul, which is basically both halves put together, which are basically the twin souls united. But it's also a soul that went through a whole evolutionary cycle and basically completed its enlightenment. Now, once it has completed its enlightenment, it basically made an agreement that it was going to come back around this time to assist with the shift, knowing that the shift was going to take form. And because it was going to take form, we realized that there was going to need some assistance in bringing higher vibration and a different level of clarity. So whenever I'm presenting, whatever I'm sharing, it's not coming from, studying other books or referring to other philosophies or anything of that nature. It's basically information coming from source. It's basically coming from a realization that this human experience is just that, a human experience.
Imagine for an instant that life does not exist. Erase the entire universe, the galaxies, the planets, and all life forms. Imagine there is just nothingness. Nothing to look at. Nothing to taste. Nothing to hear. Nothing at all for our senses to perceive. This is infinite consciousness in its rawest form. Doesn't seem very exciting, does it? This is why we have decided to create. Why have we created all that we experience on the planet? What is the purpose of life? Is this all simply a series of random events? Or is there an ultimate reason as to why we are all here? We are all one consciousness, all equal parts of one unified source. It is of this source that all matter, life, and experience is made. Source, or consciousness, is what some may refer to as God or the Creator. Many physicists refer to it as the unified field of consciousness. Many believe it to be a separate entity altogether. However, this consciousness is not something outside of or greater than us. It simply is us. The truth is, you already know this. Beyond all ideals, perceptions, accepted concepts of our reality and belief systems that we have, there is a fundamental knowing that each one of us holds. That knowing is an understanding of who and what we truly are. The only reason we don't clearly see it, and often doubt it, is because we have chosen to forget. By forgetting, we are able to engage in the experience fully and see what each has to offer. Let's back up for a moment. We are Source, one consciousness. But what does that actually mean? Who are we? Why are we experiencing what we call life on this planet? To answer this, remember what it felt like to be infinite consciousness? Not that experientially rich, is it? This is why Source, who we truly are, decided to expand itself into individual bits of consciousness. These individual bits of consciousness are all souls. These souls are who we truly are. We are individual facets of a whole, all connected as one, all made from the same thing and all complete potentiality. You may wonder why Source, who is already whole and all-knowing, needed to expand itself into souls if it already knows and is everything. It did so because Source wanted to become experientially rich. By expanding into souls, Source can use its creativity to know itself in an even richer way. Now that we understand who we are, the next big question is, why are we here experiencing life on this planet? The search for this answer is naturally apparent within each of us. It is the big question we have been trying to answer for centuries on this planet. Not that it was ever not known, but it was simply hidden and misguided. The purpose to life is not to plague ourselves with finding the answer, but instead to be on a journey of experiencing, learning, and remembering who we truly are.
There's three things that we're actually doing. We're here to experience what we can call play. The second part of it is that we're actually learning through our play. And third is to become enlightened. And this is what we created.
This simply means that each soul is gaining more and more experiences, and over time and many lives, it remembers more and more who it truly is. In addition to learning and experiencing what we need to as individual souls, each soul designs each of its lives prior to experiencing each one. Everything from our body, to where we will be born on the planet, to who our parents will be, to what type of life we will have. These are all chosen by us.
For example, let's take a look at the different countries. Do they not all offer the people that live in them a completely different experience than another one would? Yes. Or how about parents? Do they not all offer their children a completely different experience than another? Of course they do. It's this exact logic that shows why we would create so many unique facets to this experience. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you live in Bolivia or the US, whether you have a really passive or an assertive parent, whether you have a disability or not. Each of these are all just different experiences that we decided to offer and create.
When we look at some of the more intense experiences on the planet, we can ask, why would we choose to experience these things? What were we thinking? To answer simply, we weren't thinking. The mind is what thinks and judges. The soul is neutral. It sees the experience for what it is, just an experience. Remember, the soul is here to become experientially rich, not to define and judge any experience as good or bad.
We can look at some experiences and say, wow, that's really intense. There's no way I would choose to do that. But when you really look at it, where is that thought coming from? Because the soul is neutral with what it sees and experiences. It's the mind, because of the way it's been programmed and conditioned to perceive things, that it judges things, it defines things, it categorizes things. But, in actuality, there's no real truth to this. Because if you were to take away the story of it being good or bad or right or wrong, you're left with the one universal truth, that everything is just an experience. We have to realize that we are not the mind that is defining these things by judging and categorizing and whatnot. We have to realize and remember that we are neutral souls that are creating experiences for ourselves for our own growth.
Now, does this mean that the soul is cold or unloving? Absolutely not. It is only the mind that will push you to define it in this way. The soul, on the other hand, sees each challenge as another opportunity to let go of or further discover who it truly is.